Welcome guys. On today's episode of my tutorial series, I'm going to be talking about 4 basic principles on web design layout. And the way I would like to start this presentation is by showing something that can seem a little bit different. We're going to start our principles by looking at a tree, and that tree is called the Joshua trees. But what do I mean by a Joshua tree? Well, this tree is native to California, and it stands out among other trees, but it just looks like another tree. Imagine ourselves as having so many different kinds of websites, and how can we, by looking at a tree, can improve our web design's layout? Well, once we know and how to name things, we are conscious of it, and by that knowledge we can apply some of the 4 basic principles that we can improve our web layout. What are the basic principles of web layout design? The first one would be proximity. The second one would be alignment. The third one would be repetition. And the fourth one would be contrast. By the simple knowledge of understanding and having the perception of what those principles can emphasize and enhance our web designs, we can significantly improve how we can achieve better websites. Let's, for example, start by our proximity. On this simple layout, let's imagine that this picture would be a website. Imagine how dull that could look like. What goes around comes around learns from Hitchhiking Across the Country, Wilson Edgar, November 2011. What message do we want to emphasize? What are we really trying to achieve? There is no proximity on the message that we're trying to transmit. But by a principle simplified of proximity, now we are emphasizing the messages here on this area and a little bit of a footer. Imagine a footer of a website. So the proximity is information that needs to be together should be emphasized to a closer area when we want to transmit of that knowledge. It's like the perception is, as we look at the website, we know what message we want to do. Going one step further, we'll be talking about alignment. Alignment is an imaginary line that we can create for the information so they are aligned. We don't have to shift our eyes to many different places to flow our reading in our mental mind of how we're reading the information for the website. Next one, we have repetition. At a first glance, and imagine looking at a site, things seems to be okay, because repetition is primarily referred to typeface. When we can improve our typeface and matching the typeface our website, things seems to be a little bit more combined. The next one would be contrast. Contrast can be exemplified on their best and easiest way by color. That's how we can easily achieve contrast in a website. The gradient that it has been nowadays so much used, it brings what we're trying to achieve as the contrast. We should just be careful sometimes how this contrast can go, because in certain ways this may look a little bit awkward. There is a contrast with the gradient of the blue. In some sites it could work, in some others it may not. So in summary, if we go back to our tree, when we know and when we can understand the differences between the trees, we'll be able to go from a site that was before like this to something that we would resemble a little bit more of a professional site that can have our contrast, our repetition, our alignment, and our positioning. Thank you for watching one more episode of Wes Webcast. Thank you.